What's going on, everybody? Hey, tonight we're super excited to come to you live from, the East Coast and the West Coast posse tonight. Super excited to be joined by Barry. Barry, how do I pronounce your last name?
Napier. No, it's
Na-
Napier. The
Napier.
fancy version is
Yeah.
Napier.
He's going to give me a condition
Napier.
because I'm going to be,
Napier.
Napier.
That's Napier. Barry
But
Napier.
we are joined by Barry Napier tonight, who is absolutely killing it. He
Yeah.
is a fellow Black Level Closers Cafe member, and we're super thrilled and excited to be joined by him today. Going to drop a bunch of knowledge for local marketers, and we're going to dive into what he's actually doing in this kind of leveraging the celebrity space or actually making local people, businesses, celebrities. But we're going to dive into a little bit about that a little bit more. But before we jump into that, I'm also here with a good friend, business partner, David Calafiore.
What's up,
And
everybody? Good evening.
yeah, Barry, why don't you jump in and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into it.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for having me on the show. Love to be here. Super exciting. So I'm out here in Seattle, and although I'm an East Coaster by birth, so East Coast posse represent. I was born in Arlington, Virginia, raised upstate New York. So, bringing the North and the South together, unification, and then, taking the East Coast, West Coast, bringing that together. I've been out here in Seattle the last 20 years. And I have not always been an entrepreneur, guys. So just a fair admission, transparency here. I was not born an entrepreneur, although looking back, I had some entrepreneurial tendencies. Actually worked for Starbucks for a number of years out here. And then from Starbucks, made the leap into a consultative role with this little boutique firm. Did consulting in big Fortune 500s for a bunch of years, learned a ton, had a blast, made a ton of money. And then also kind of realized that that was not my calling or path. And then I did become an entrepreneur, and I launched my own thing. And I started off in the health and wellness space, actually, within kind of a coaching, nutrition, lifestyle thing. And quickly realized that when someone is not paying your bills, client and lead flow becomes really, really important, because you wake up one day and you're like, oh shit, all my friends and family have bought from me already, and now I have no money coming in next month. So it was like month 3, and my wife was like, I don't know about this, babe. I don't know. I don't know. Not sure. Maybe you should get the Amazon job. And so, yeah, I had to get good at marketing. Not necessarily even because I really had a love for it, but because it was a necessity. Like, I have kids through a prior relationship, which they're like my second mortgage. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying on that. So I just had to get really good at getting out in front of people, creating content, becoming magnetic, learning how to sell from the front of a room, learning how to cold call, learning how to drop in, all these cool skills that I never would have necessarily ever needed to learn in that consultative world I was in. All that shit I got a crash course in, or stuff rather, I don't know, probably a little PC. All that stuff I got a crash course in when I started my own company. And so that's what got me started down the marketing path, built that business up, and realized one day that I did not have a freedom lifestyle company. And in fact, I had built myself a prison and a job where I answered to a bunch of very, very needy individuals, which I loved. But the minute I stepped out, like, the wheels would start to fall off that bus. And so I realized I needed to pivot. And as I stood at that moment, that kind of crossroads where we've all been, I realized that what I really loved, even more than kind of nutrition, lifestyle coaching, and that kind of transformation for individuals, I really loved transforming businesses. And so it kind of took my consultative work I'd done in the Fortune 500 world and married that with this kind of marketing, guerrilla marketing, like get it done on a budget, like how do you be really effective and do things that actually matter. And I married those two things together, launched my agency. This was about 3 years ago. Fast forward now, probably triple the income that I was when I had my other prior business, and really now firing on all cylinders, and things are going pretty well. I mean, they're going well from a finance standpoint. And again, I mean, it's there's still always so much more to go get and so much more to go do, but I'm having a blast and super busy and having a good time right now.
That's awesome. David.
Barry, are you catering to any specific niche in terms of the types of businesses you work with, or?
Yeah. So like anybody who starts a local business, like a local kind of a local marketing agency, what I've tend to observe, and what was true for myself anyway, was that, you take whatever clients that you can get initially. So my first year, I had a wide range of people that I worked with, and I was still really trying to figure out what exactly I was doing, how I was helping, what my uniqueness was, and all that kind of stuff. In over time, I've kind of gravitated into kind of medical or medical related niche. So med spa, chiros, naturopaths, authority figures or experts in that type of space. It's genetics, kind of that whole kit and caboodle is really where I've just started to get a lot of traction.
Okay.
And the more traction I get there, the more I realize I just, I don't really need to probably go outside of that niche, because it's like an infinite pool within that space.
Right.
So that's really where which kind of marries that health lifestyle. Like I'm a relatively fit person. I love to work out. I mean, I'm personally like fascinated by health and longevity and like how do you kind of maximize like your potential and all this stuff. So it's a good fit for me. And I really think when it comes to picking your niche, it's almost like your niche picks you too, because it's like, I believe this is where this whole follow your passion kind of thing comes into play. I mean, if you're like working in the industry that you just are super bored by and have no interest in, you might have some success in that, but at what cost? You know what I'm saying? So I love being in the kind of med spa, kind of medical optimization, kind of healthy lifestyle space. And that's really where now I've started to get a lot of traction. And, once you do well for one client, the magic starts to happen and the doors start to open and you get other opportunities, of course, as they introduce you to their friends and you kind of start to grow. So that's kind of what I'm niched into right now. Med spa, chiro / naturopath / healthy lifestyle supplements.
There are plenty of those businesses out there that need help. So
infinite.
It's infinite. There's tons.
Well, there is, because I mean, I think, if you just kind of take a step back and you look at like people, right? Like, and you think about, well, like what are great niches to be in? I mean, great niches to be in are these niches that have this really deep wellspring of need, I love that whole kind of Gary Halbert quote here. And I love copywriting and I love kind of studying the classics and the masters, and Gary Halbert, one of the greatest copywriters probably who ever lived. And there's this great story I'm sure you guys have heard where, he's having this conversation with one of his copywriting buddies, and they're having a debate around like, okay, well, here's what, here's the advantage I would give you, like, what do you think makes the greatest, if you could choose anything, like what's the greatest kind of need or copywriting angle, and the guy he was talking to was like self-interest or curiosity or something. He's like, yeah, that's good. He's good. But Gary's like, if I could have anything, he's like, I'd take a hungry crowd, right? And it's like, I'll take a hungry crowd and then I'm going to put up at the biggest and best hamburger stand they've ever seen. And I'm just going to sell them hamburgers all day long. And so when I think it comes to like picking a niche and understanding like where you want to have an impact and where you want to help, there's certain areas that just have really deep, ongoing, ever-present needs. There's just always going to be a need for those things. And that's a great place to specialize in, because you never really have to worry about going out of business or running out of clients, because there's always going to be a need for that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. What types of services do you find yourself offering to these clients?
Yeah, man, like everybody, when I first started, I kind of was on that whole I was on the Facebook ads bandwagon. I was all over the place in terms of my service offerings. And
gradually figure it out, right? I mean, just trying to figure it out.
Totally. Yeah.
What works, what doesn't work.
Yep. I mean, I'm a consumer of information. So one of my superpowers is I can digest material really, really quickly. I can power through it and I can implement it. And that gives me an advantage, right? So I can take a course, turn that information around and apply it within a very short period of time. I don't even have to make it through the course. Like I get like through like, the first 3 modules. And I know Drew's like this too.
I remember what Drew
Yeah.
took the dental master class and
Yeah.
actually didn't even go through the course. Just
Totally.
listened to the first module where it was about going out and dropping off donuts.
Yep.
Went, dropped off donuts, signed up clients, and then had to go take the course to figure out what the hell he was doing.
Exactly.
My plan,
I did the same thing.
there was, if I couldn't figure it out, and truth be told, guys, for full transparency, I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't, like, it's just, I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. No, I'm joking. But yeah, if I didn't figure it out, I was going to find somebody else that knew how to do it and then just hire them and just, whatever. But yeah, keep going. I'm fully entertained.
That's absolutely it. I do. So, I mean, there's so many, there's so many interesting things we could talk about here. Like, what does it take to become an expert? The whole idea of, are you a couple steps ahead of whoever you're helping? And does that then put you in a position where you truly are able to help them? And then the difference between that and then truly kind of developing a body of expertise through experience. Yeah. And I often think that when we're starting, we need to take a leap. I mean, at some point you have to start. Like, you could go to school, you can do all this stuff. And then 7 years later, you get your first client and at that point you're, $200,000 in debt and your wife's left you and your kids hate you and you're living on, in a box, right, on the street. Or you can take a leap and recognize that you need to learn through experience, and there's people who you can help, because frankly, when it comes to marketing, it's a very powerful skill set. There's so many elements and dimensions of marketing. So you don't need to be an expert at everything, but find something that you're kind of gravitated to, or you have a starting point, develop some skill set. For me, I was coming out of applying it to my own business, so I felt like I had some level of legitimacy. It wasn't just purely make-believe. Mm-hmm. But there was a fair amount of, in the beginning, theoretical, like, I don't know. I mean, I read this, I really trust this guy, I did all of his stuff, and I hope it works. You know what I mean? And
I think we've all been there, man. Absolutely. Yeah. It's that imposter syndrome that we talk about all the time. Everybody's been there.
Yeah, and it's okay to have that. And I think the point is, like, a doctor who goes to school for 7 years, that the first time when they're starting to see patients, they have that exact same feeling, because it doesn't matter how much schooling or how much study or how many courses or all that. I mean, at some point when you start to apply, it's a little scary, right? But you have to get over that, have to get into that. So that first year, there was a ton of exploration, a ton of different kind of client groups and all different kinds of niches. And that's when I really started to realize, like, where my gravitation towards, what I loved to do, what I didn't love to do, and all that. And eventually that developed into my current service offering, which is for my local business clients, really around this kind of, I call it the local celebrity method. And essentially, I had this realization, and this is, again, wasn't like some original realization, but it was just watching various other gurus, teachers, kind of thought leaders out there, guys like Ben, but then also guys like, Gary Vaynerchuk and all this. It was like realizing, okay, so obviously we have the internet, we have this thing, which is like an always on kind of connection device. And we can do things like video and the podcasting to create interesting content to connect with people. And for me, that whole kind of Gary Vaynerchuk model of, there's new TV channels now, and those TV channels are Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and Snapchat and whatever. And that's just like CBC, NBC, ABC. And there's a new radio station, and that new radio station is your local podcast. It's like your new podcast that you're starting, and you can start your own newspaper, and that's called your blog. All that stuff like really resonated with me. But at the same time, because when I, doing that, I knew how hard it was. Creating content consistently that's high quality is very difficult when it is your own material that you're creating. I actually think it's easier to create content for other people than it is to create your own content. I mean, it's super tough.
Difficult, absolutely.
It is. It's to do like quality video, to do consistent quality podcasting, to do high quality, consistent blogging. It's not easy. And so that's why you see a lot of people start and stop, right? Or people who never start because they're just overwhelmed. and especially video, right? So I recognized that, like, okay, I looked at my journey and my development with video, and when I started, I was like so painfully, it was just like so painfully awkward. And I recognized though that learning to be good on video is like a skill, and learning how to connect to the camera, love the camera, but then speak through it into the human beings behind it, that can be developed in people. And I know that because I developed it. And that breakthrough, I started realizing like I could help other people who really had a powerful message and had a powerful client base, but who were under leveraged in terms of their content and exposure. I could help them build that know, like, and trust factor, not only with their own audience, but with all these other people who they really wanted to meet, but they're just never going to meet them if they're not doing something like video, or if they don't have their own radio show, aka podcast,
So
and they're
smart.
not putting out quality stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I realized like, hey, I can make this easy. I can bring in all the gear. I can do all the production. I can coach them, help them, encourage them, love on them, lift them up, give them the kind of insight that they need to be great on camera. I can develop within them and help unlock that kind of authority person that they really are, and that they are one-on-one and they're so authentic and real, but you put them in front of a camera or you put a mic in front of their face and they just like freeze up. I can do that and then strategically, intentionally boost that content, disseminate that content, and tie that into patient acquisition or client acquisition funnels. Then I have a very powerful service that I can offer people. And so that's what I started to develop piecemeal. I actually started it with a real estate client who was one of my first clients who was willing to take the plunge on me on video. And I was like just totally ghetto, like with my iPhone, like doing video for them. And they were super cool. But I'll tell you what, that client account right there allowed me to gear up and upgrade month over month, not all at once.
Yeah.
But I made a pact with my wife. I was like, babe, this is just like, let's take this, just this one client, and I'm going to take this money, I'm going to reinvest it into my gear, I'm going to reinvest it in what we're doing. She was like, cool. Because it wasn't much. It was a $500 a month client, right? To do 3 videos a month for them. And that though allowed me to make dramatic upgrades over the last like year, right? So upgrade the camera, lights, mics, nice wireless mics, nice lights, backdrops, all kinds of stuff. So now I can roll in with a full video production unit that it fits in the trunk of my car. I can put it all on one shoulder. I can roll in anywhere at any time, and I can create incredible video that just is mind-boggling in its like quality, and I'm out, right? And that one client allowed me to do that. And now I have a number of clients that are paying me more in that $3,500 a month recurring range to kind of bring that whole package to them. But without that first client who was willing to take a risk on me, and who I was kind of like going in there with my iPhone, like shooting some like little like hand cam type deal, I wouldn't be where I am today. So that one of the things I always want to tell people is like, listen, don't be afraid to like take that early client on at a lower kind of price point than you want to be at, to get that learning in, to invest in, and then take that, of course, and roll it into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then one day you wake up and you realize like, oh, sweet, I can do all this other stuff that's really high value now. So that's
pretty
where
cool.
I am today.
So smart. Barry, from experience myself, I know a lot of times local clients, business people don't quite understand how powerful this stuff is. When you tell them that the new TV networks are Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, they don't quite get it, right?
Totally.
They don't understand how creating a video of yourself talking about your expertise in your given field is like a TV commercial. It's more powerful than a TV commercial. So if you were going to give a tip to someone who's watching this who might want to go out and try to sell this service, what ways have you found to portray how powerful this can be for a local business owner to get them to understand and take the leap with you?
Yeah. Man. Yeah, this is a big topic.
It's
because this is because it comes down to selling, right? And we could do a whole other show on high ticket sales.
This is a whole course.
It's a whole course. I mean, I've gone through a number of different training. I don't know. I've gone through trainings on high ticket sales. I did all this stuff on high ticket sales. In high ticket, I'm just going to go ahead and qualify as like anything over maybe like $1,000 or $1,500, right? So, and that's different for everybody. So, somebody might be, oh, high ticket sales, that's a $50,000 sale or $100,000 or $500,000 sale. Other people, $500 sale, they would be shaking. It's like, I've never asked anybody for $500. That's a high ticket sale for them, right? So, I mean, high ticket sales, like whatever that means to you, wherever level you are. But when you're getting started, $1,500 or asking somebody for $2,000 or $5,000. I mean, I can tell you guys, I remember the very first time I told somebody it was going to be 20,000 to book me for my services. Be like, yeah, it'd be like 20. You know how many hundreds of times I had practiced saying that? So it was just comfortable and like would just flow off my tongue like it was no big deal, like every day. It's just like I get up, I brush my teeth. It's like, yeah, 20, like what? 20 what? 20 grand. So no biggie. I mean, it's just what it is. It's a deal, really. So all that, I mean, so getting to the point where you're able to talk to local businesses about your services is complex. It's not easy, but you certainly, you got to get out there and have the conversations. I would say the biggest mistake I made when I started, and the mistake I see other people make, and what I coach other local, like kind of local agencies owners on, or other people now who have kind of started their business and who I've kind of coached them through some of these processes, is around not pitching, right, and moving into a high level of kind of questioning connection, where you're looking really to discover if there's a need and what their need is and really how you can help, and getting out of the selling mentality to some degree, even though you are selling, you know what I mean? So it's like,
right, it's a skill.
It's a skill. It really is.
Absolutely.
And part of it also, I think, is this intangible of like self-belief. Okay, so we started this conversation, or part of it where we started was this whole idea of imposter syndrome and this confidence in knowing you could deliver or not deliver. And there came a point, and it wasn't like a particular day. Like I didn't mark this day on my calendar, but there came a point where, and it was probably around February, maybe January, February of this year, actually, just everything changed for me. Everything changed. And when it did, and it was an intangible, but when that interior change happened, like all of a sudden one day I woke up and I was like, I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It was like, oh my gosh, I am Superman. You know what I mean? It was like that. It was like, you get shot and you're like, the bullet bounced off. I am a superhero. And then it was like, oh yeah, it's on, and then I started really kind of go crazy.
It's confidence. It's just flat out confidence.
It just changed, and like a swagger, and I didn't even care about the sale. Like I just didn't care about the sale anymore. I knew, I saw it, I had the vision, could sit down with a person, I could talk to them, ask them questions, I could get the vision, and intuitively, in my heart and my mind, I could feel like, here's how I can help them, and I would just let them do all their thing, and I'd be like, I think this is how I can help you. And they were like, that sounds awesome. Like, how much did that cost? I'm like, I think it costs this. They'd be like, that seems reasonable. I was like, great. Well, I'll get a proposal over to you and we'll work through the details. Like, okay, let's do it. And literally, it was like, boom, boom.
It's like magic, right?
Boom. It really felt like it. It was crazy. I mean, for a bit there, like literally every single deal that I sat down to, I landed, to the point where I was like, this is crazy. Maybe I should raise my prices. And I don't know if you guys, I mean, I was putting in the group. I was like, this is like the 5th deal in a row. These are the biggest deals I've ever like put out, and they're just literally zero resistance, and they're all landing. Like Brandy or Ben or somebody was like, you should probably raise your prices. But my prices, I did raise my prices. Well, these weren't cheap programs. They're still not. I mean, so that came from that kind of just confidence and being relaxed and not feeling like I needed the sale, but really service model. Like I knew I could help. And it really just came down to helping the person sitting across the table from me understand what they really wanted, and then getting them to a place where they felt comfortable and confident that I knew what they wanted and that I believed in what they believed, and I had the vision that they had, and that I could actually birth that vision for them. I mean, that's incredible. So that's kind of what changed.
And all in all, what it really takes is just going through the process over and over and over again until you wake up that day and you've built momentum, and you've built your confidence, and you kind of just end up in a place where it all kind of comes together, like you were just saying. It's a powerful moment when that happens. I felt it before. It's so true.
By the way, the proper response when somebody asks you how much is $1 billion.
Right. Totally.
That typically breaks
Yep.
the ice a little bit,
It
and then
does.
you can say, "Look, I'm giving you a deal. It's $20,000. It's 25,000. Where I'm not charging you $1 billion. I'm charging you
Yep.
$25,000. To
Yeah.
that point, it's very interesting about perspective, right?
Mm.
Sometimes you have to change the perspective of the person and the client that you're working with. And one of the first app deals that I did, this is actually some relevance, and the story goes as such. I was doing a presentation on mobile app development, and this was way back when apps were first started coming out and whatever. And I was doing a presentation on mobile marketing and apps, the emerging world of mobile, etc. And it was at a chamber of commerce down in the Houston area. So they had quite a large constituency, maybe 2,000-3,000 people, whatever it might be. And I guess one of the directors of the chamber pulled me aside and said something along the lines of, "Hey, we'd love to get a quote on app development, right?" So I came back and literally just pulled a number out of the air and said, "Yeah, it's going to be about $8,000 to develop this app." And they're like, yeah, they literally spit their coffee out and basically kicked me out and said, "Yeah, we don't even pay $2,000 for a website, let alone one of these
Yeah.
stupid apps, right?" So they said, "Come back when you have a better price." I came back and I said, "Look, I've got a better price for you," and it took all the balls in the world to say this, but I said it's going to be $120,000, and the response that's on your faces were like, what the, like, get the hell out of here, right? I said, "Look, it is a better price. It's a better price for me, and it's a better price for you." And I said, "Look, that's not what I'm going to charge you. Look, there's about 2,000 members here, right?
Mm.
Would you be willing to charge each one of these members just $5 a month to have a listing inside this app from the chamber?" So you do the math. It's 5 times 2,000 people. It's 10 grand a month. 10 grand a month times 12 months. You got 120 grand. They said, "Look, you guys can take 60,000. I'll do 60,000. I'll do all of the work. All you need to do is promote it to this audience." Now the perspective changed significantly, and they're like, I think they did some quick math in their minds. They're like, "We like the $8,000 deal better." So I said, "Screw you. I'm out of here." I mean, it's perspective, right? It's not money out
Yeah.
of their pocket, but now all of a sudden they realize that with the service that I was going to be providing, and like your videos and everything else that you're doing, you've changed the perspective of how they're viewing this. The price isn't necessarily the price anymore. It's just the investment, that the dividend on the other side is going to be, wait, I don't need to do any work here, but I'm going to get $60,000 in return. That's pretty decent return on their investment. So I didn't mean to go off tangent there,
No, I
but
love that.
it's I'm thrilled for you. It sounds like you're having a lot of success with this model.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, you got to always step back and think about what are the problems that the person across the table wants to solve. I mean, this is who am I talking to? What do they want? What's their ideal state? What's stopping them from getting that? I mean, and this is just like marketing 101, but even as we always got to ground ourselves there, like literally every conversation I have with a client or a prospective client always starts with like, who are we talking to? What problems do they have? How can you help them solve that problems? What's that worth to them? And it's the exact same thing for like a local business owner. If most owners have tried a variety of different things. They've probably tried Facebook ads. Maybe they've probably tried to do blogs or emails. Maybe if they were super brave, tried to do some video, and they quickly realized that it's super hard, and that even if you do it, nobody cares. Nobody gives a SHIT. You know what I'm saying? They just don't until you do it a lot. I mean, until you do it a lot and you make it interesting and compelling and good. So when you realize that, that all you need to do is tap into that, that frustration, that challenge, that difficulty maybe that they've had in the past, and then offer a highly compelling, like really like a one-stop kind of like, I can do all of it. You know, we do the email, we do the images, we do the branding, we do the video, we do the post-production, we do the editing, we do the polishing, we do the color balancing, the sound balancing, we do the promoting, we do the boosting, we do the Facebook ads, we do blog content. Like if you say, I do all of this, and all of that at the end of the day brings people in the door who want to spend money with you, and they're like, what do I do? It's like, well, you show up at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, and I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. And I'm going to hold your hand every step of the way. And we're going to have a blast together, by the way. And then every couple of weeks, we'll go out and we'll do our planning. Maybe we'll go get wine, or we'll go have a craft beer, or we'll go get like some happy hour snacks. And we'll go through and we'll plan out that next month, and we'll just rinse and repeat. And you're going to make a ton of money. You're going to have a blast, and all this cool stuff's going to be happening that you've always wanted to do. But, you know, it just life gets in the way and you can't do everything. Well, that's what I'm here to do for you. That model right there, that pitch, that presentation, that kind of connection to people, it just resonates. It's just authentic. And it's like, that sounds pretty good. And then when it's like, how much is that going to cost? And you're like, oh, that's $3,500 or that's $4,500 or that's $5,000 a month. It really doesn't seem like that insane. And if they can't pay or they don't want to pay, that's cool because somebody else will.
Barry, can you give me an example of someone who you started working with, offering this service to, how it's kind of changed their life and their business? Like they went from point A to point B. What happened in their business from you performing this service for them?
Yeah, man. One of the clients that kind of took an early plunge with me, chiropractor here in the Seattle area, and local chiropractor. And when we met, I had actually, so it's interesting how I got her as a client, how we got connected. One of my other clients in the fitness space, I run their podcast, right? And we do the radio show, and I had heard good things about her. So I had invited her onto another client's show as a guest, and then used that to then
Good move.
Yes,
That's the move.
yes, the evil is real. And then I used that to like, well, what are you doing for your marketing? And she was obviously doing some stuff, but not everything. And as we sat down and kind of talked through, all these kind of things came out for her. And I said, well, you know, listen, here's what I do and here's how I help. And she was so excited about it. And at that point, it was just her and one other doc. And since we've started working together, she's added 2 more doctors to her practice.
Wow.
She's cut back her time so she's freed up 2 full days a week of her own time where she's not working. And so from a clinic standpoint, her clinic's never been busier. We had, I think, the busiest week she's ever had 2 weeks ago in the middle of summer, which last year, prior to us working together, was like her slowest. Obviously, summertime sucks for a lot of people. And it's now the busiest versus it was the absolute slowest last year, 2 weeks ago this time. And on top of that, we're now creating an info course on a number of different topics, but we're almost done with her first low back course, which is a lifetime dream of hers to kind of do a course. And she's literally invested thousands and thousands of dollars trying to do course before, never done it before. We're going to launch that and bring that live next week. So it's been really gratifying to see that of growth for her and to see her be able to expand her team and also work less, but have more. And that's pretty cool. I mean, that's
changed and improved her life by doing what you're doing. So there's no doubt when you go out and sell this why you're so confident. I mean, look at what you're doing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Me too.
It is the downside of this, and so there's always, there's upside and downsides and everything. The downside of this particular packaging, and I do have 2 clients, and I charge them quite a bit less. So rather than charge them $3,500, I charge them $1,500, but I don't have any of the other work. I essentially coach them every week on how to implement and execute the system.
Right.
And that's a more scalable model, frankly, than it is acquiring a bunch of local people and doing all the work. But at the same time, it's a little less appealing because to come in and say, I'm going to do everything for you, it's like, winning the lotto for a lot of business owners. So that's the downside of the model, is that it can be time consuming.
It's hands-on.
It's hands-on. And if you're going to do the video production and the video filming, that's time intensive. I mean, and that is frankly one of the factors that has allowed us to be successful, is because they literally would never have done the video had they not have me on as like their video coach, director, the whole deal. So that's a weakness of the system, or it's just a limitation in how it's currently built out.
Right.
Well, what's good about it is that you don't need a ton of clients to get to a nice base. You have 3 clients with the local celebrity method, and you're close or at that 10K mark. You throw a couple other like clients from a distance on similar service, but at a consultative level, and you have a nice practice, and you don't have to do a ton of work then. So that's, so it's, like anything, there's always a balance to stuff.
Yeah, but one of the things that I'm thinking about with this model is when the results come in from your production, your post-production, you're putting it out there, you're tracking, and you can, with reasonable certainty, you can see as a result of this video, you brought in 15, 20, 30 patients, et cetera, suddenly that $33, $35, $4,000, $5,000 seems like a drop in the bucket, depending on what the short-term and the long-term value is of one of those patients.
Totally.
And, once you start pulling in 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 patients, then, the balance in negotiation is like, hey, we can stop doing this, but hey, throw some money back this way, and we'll increase the ability to bring even more patients in. And
totally, absolutely.
That's a fantastic problem to have.
It is. No, it is. It's it's interesting. I was just pitching a client who's expanded from. They were 2 locations. They added 2 more, so they're at 4 locations now in the Cairo space. And so I've been pitching them on like a big local celebrity package for all 4 of their locations to elevate and highlight their docs and all that. And if that thing goes down, I mean, that's like a 6-figure deal, because it's multiple locations and whatever. And so it does absolutely positions you from a agency standpoint to offer this really compelling service. And you don't need a lot of yeses for that to start adding up. And then to your point, as you start to build success there, it opens the door too for like renegotiation, or even to go in and set it up like we're going to start here, and then at certain milestones we're going to bump it up. So Kenny in Black Level, our closers group, we just had a meeting about a client that he has that we're not going to do the local celebrity stuff, but we're doing some copy and some email marketing stuff. And that was exactly the type of deal that kind of was putting together for that client, is like, hey, why don't we do a 3 months or a 6 month at a certain number? Then based on the results that we accrue, if we're tracking to hit what we believe we're going to hit and hit some certain very manageable low, do not create heroic thresholds for yourself, but where you create like, it makes sense, the numbers make sense, then we go from this to this to this in terms of what your monthly billing is. And so I think that's a really great model. Anything you can do to like reduce the risk, it is a big move for a lot of these local businesses to be writing a check for, $25, $35, $45, $55, $100 a month. It's a significant investment. It is. So you got to kind of think about that too.
Pretty killer, man. I'm impressed with what you've put together there, what you're doing.
Yeah, part of it, from an agency standpoint, I'll just talk through a little bit of logistics on this. It's not without a skill curve. So, doing video, learning lighting, learning gear, what you need, how to set up shots, learning how to I've experimented with a ton of software. How do you create cool like little footers and zoom transition stuff and like really cool like intro videos that are all dynamic and that look amazing. All that stuff has been gazillions of hours worth of time and a ton of money that I also flushed down the toilet on all the stuff that didn't work, right? Until I realized like, okay, here's the system. Here's the system that I'm using now to create a really high quality, high polished product. and here's how you can replicate it. So that's part of what I was really excited to kind of develop. And as I'm putting together my local celebrity masterclass and the training program for other agency owners to take this model and run with it, part of it is, the tech. How do you deliver it? How do you set it up? How do you do it? How do you do video well? And there's that, right? Then there's the how do you sell it piece, and then there's the how do you deliver it after the fact, and what are the different services and different ways you can outsource some of it, and then also you yourself, like how can you simplify the deliverables so that you can scale it to 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 clients. I mean, because frankly, like, you get into that 5 to 10 clients at the local celebrity method model, you're doing a fair amount. At that point, you are able to hire people. So, I mean, depending on your business model, at some point when it comes to scale, and I know you guys probably, you guys have experience with this and might have some wisdom that you could give to me, but at a certain point, you start hitting these capabilities to deliver your capacity levels. And that's where it's like, okay, if I was to make a strategic hire on my end or strategic outsourcing, what would that be so I can continue to increase my capacity to scale?
It'd be video editing.
That's exactly. And so that's what I did do. So that's one of the things I discovered is like, okay, how do you do that? And how do you source and find a phenomenal editor? Because as cool as it is to be a whiz bang like wizard when it comes to the editing, and it is super cool, and I love to geek out on that stuff.
It's
a giant time sink, right? So that was one of the very things. You're absolutely right, Dave. It's like, okay, boom, outsource video editing. How do you source and hire a person? And I have a phenomenal team now on this that is ridiculous how good they are, and the value ratio to in cost for me is very, very good. But
it takes a while to get there, though. I've been through this, working with people who were doing editing for me. Yep. You have a certain vision, and it takes a while to get to the point to where they understand what you want and can produce it consistently all the time. It takes a lot of patience and going back and forth and working together. But once it's down and they've got it, you're in business. It's phenomenal.
It's huge. It opens up a giant capacity, and that's like anything. That's a little bit of like the illusion of the 4-hour work week. It's such a beautiful lie, and at the same time there is some truth to it. But that whole idea that you could just outsource your whole business, there's still a huge amount of work that needs to be done to calibrate and connect and build a highly qualified like consistency with whoever your team is, whether that's a person who's standing next to you or you have an office with. That's hard enough. To do it like via messages to a person who's in another place in the world dealing with a bunch of other stuff and who may or may not, have like, you're speaking the same language, that's a whole other thing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that outsourcing, I'm a huge, like, I love it. I think it's a great idea. I've had real success with it, but I've also wasted a bunch of money on it and hired outsourcers and dropped a ton in and got back a product that wasn't up to snuff, that I just had to redo, So not only did I eat the cost of paying somebody to do it, but I ate my time to go back and redo it all over again because it needed to be done right. So you're 100%, man. I mean, I do think outsourcing and looking at that is really smart, but at the same time, I just think sometimes people are super flippant with that whole thing, overly cavalier with it, and don't recognize, like anything, you need to vet and build and create, and and you might need to go through a number of different outsourcers. It takes time to build that relationship. It takes time to find them. And then if you find somebody who's really good, what happens when they disappear? What happens when they ghost you, or when, like
it happens.
Their country's currency no longer is valid and like civilization collapses.
I particularly have that problem with people in New Jersey and New York. They know when I'm coming to New York. Yeah. My freaking car got towed. I mean, I was there for 5 minutes and my freaking car got towed. They must have known that I was coming, and I try to outsource stuff, and it just, you might as well speak a different language when you go to that car. I mean, literally. I mean, they say, well, we washed the streets on Friday. I'm like, where is this signage? I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, you do really need to. That's a skill set and a course in of itself is outsourcing.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Well, Barry, I am so stoked that you've decided that you're gonna like package this together, create a masterclass, and teach this, because you've been through the ringer with this. You've put in your 10,000 hours, and you've figured out all the steps, the systems, and you're going to be able to save somebody tons of time and anguish going through all this BS trying to figure this stuff out. They're gonna take what you've figured out over these past years and be able to implement it pretty quickly. So I'll be your first customer on this.
All right. I'm gonna take you
Absolutely.
When's this coming out?
So let's see. Is this like a hard deadline that you want me to give you right now? Is that what's happening? Is this positive accountability?
It is positive accountability.
Am I making a public commitment right now, knowing that will increase the likelihood of my follow through?
Maybe you should.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah. All right. Let's look at the calendar. So from a outlining standpoint, all the structure, the bones of the course is done. I just need to get in and start shooting my video, and then pull together some of the sales pages and some of that kind of piece to kind of put it all out there. So I would say we're looking at mid-September launch right now. Realistically, That's kind of what we're looking at, which would be great. So let's say this thing hits mid-September. That's what I'm going to publicly commit to. Middle of September. It's a little bit vague, but it's a little bit defined. Write it down. Write it down.
Have you back. It's on the calendar.
Write it down. Write it down. You guys are lining up, knocking on the door, like, "Yo, man, we're ready to go with this local celeb thing."
I was kind of thinking too, Barry. This local celeb thing, Drew. This goes along very well with some of the stuff we've been going in here in the group with local media assets. I mean, those two are kind of perfectly, married together. What an amazing way to distribute local celebrity videos for your clients than on your local media asset.
Oh man, big time.
It's huge. Look, I was totally ghetto yesterday. I used this thing, and I went and shot. Like, I'm not a videographer or anything. This is the extent, right? So it's an iPhone 7 Plus, and I don't have the 10 yet, right? So it might as well be, an archaic type of device.
It's just a piece of garbage at this point, Drew.
It's literally a Kodak Polaroid.
So outdated. It's ridiculous.
I'm trying to shoot video on a Polaroid,
Embarrassing.
Polaroid. So, but still, man, I went and worked with a local client, and we just shot a 10-minute video for the local gym, and she's got a bunch of views already, and totally ghetto and stuff. But imagine what could happen if they had your solution behind it, like podcasting and the whole blogging package and promotion and all that other kind of stuff behind it. I think this really works well, and I'm excited to promote it to the rest of the group, and I'm excited for myself. I'm going to buy it too, and just see what I can do for myself, because this guy, I don't know if I'm a celebrity kind of guy here, but any help I can get, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, we can make anybody a celebrity. You're absolutely a celebrity. You and David both celebrities.
Even if you want to take the stuff that you're teaching and incorporate it for yourself as an agency owner to become a local celebrity, that's smart.
It's absolutely applicable. So that's a great segue on in just something I was talking to Drew about the other day, actually, getting ready to launch my own local show, which is a local media asset. So when you think about what you can do from an agency standpoint, from a client acquisition, that nugget that I dropped earlier, man, that was so gold. Like, I got this high-paying client through another client's podcast. All of a sudden now, when you start running your own show as an agency owner, and you have a way, and that's connected to a local media asset, like a page or a group, and now all of a sudden you become an epicenter of what's happening, what's cool, sharing kind of up and coming things.
Halo marketing.
The show, dude, when you take the show concept and you apply it to that, it's explosive. Because what people want, I mean, they want the nuance, they want the commentary, they want the recommendations, they want all of that stuff. And so as an agency owner, you don't realize the power you have to influence people's opinion and point traffic in certain directions and act almost like a neutral third party in terms of who you're giving your endorsement to. Mm-hmm. So powerful. So when you recognize, like, oh, wow, wait a minute, I as an agency owner, not only can I hire people to make shows within their audiences, I can my own self take this same course and utilize it from a client acquisition standpoint. Now you have the Death Star, fully operational. Luke's standing there, everybody's down on Endor, and the sinking realization comes over him that it's fully operational, Battlestar. It's fully operational. And that's what we're talking about. Star Wars reference for you, Drew. Star Wars for you.
I love it. And you're right, man. You are going to be leveraging so many distribution centers. You've got iTunes, you've got Libsyn, you've got Stitcher, you've got Amazon Alexa. Oh boy, she just went off. Alexa, and you're going to be in everyone's homes. You're going to be in everyone's cars. You're going to be on everyone's iPhone or their Android device with your stuff. And that what you dropped the other day is just amazing.
It ties into a show earlier this week that you guys were talking. The kind of local news on the voice-enabled devices being one of the top trending things, and then this also ties into Facebook's algorithm changes around wanting to promote and develop their local news sources, and I've seen other stuff on Local Celebrity that is about leveraging traditional PR channels like traditional television and radio and newspaper. And that's all fine and dandy. That's all great, but I'm just kind of like, cut out the middleman. We can just go and become a production company. Like, you can become an authority. You don't need a newscaster to hold you up one day and you get 15 minutes of fame. We can give you 15 minutes of fame every day of the week if we want. You know what I'm saying? It's like, when you realize, like, oh man, that's the trend, that's the way to go. You can capture attention, build that know, like, and trust factor, and then you can drop in unique and compelling offers that tie into that whole thing. So now you got the local Groupon factor going on. Done.
Like Gary V says, everybody should be thinking of themselves as a media company, not as a dentist or a chiropractor. You should be a media company.
And it took me a while for me to get that, and then figure out, like, well, how do you do that? But then it was like, oh, okay, cool. And people will pay for you to be able to help them do that. I mean, they pay Gary. That's what they pay Gary for in VaynerMedia. They pay him like, $300,000 or $500,000 or $1 million. So I mean, they'll pay you 50 or 60 or 70 over the course of a year. I mean, these are lucrative contracts.
I mean, really think about it. In your local area, nobody's doing this stuff. No local business owners, dentist, a gym owner, chiropractor is doing this stuff. So when you can work with somebody who has the balls to work with you to go do this, they take over their local area. I mean,
they do.
Yeah. If you need a chiropractor and you've been watching this woman on her weekly chiropractor show every week for a year, and all of a sudden you throw your back out, who are you going to?
Totally. Well, and it's cool because you don't, listen, and I could be way better at this. So I look at guys like, I look at Richard, like in the closers group, who's like so phenomenal with all of his analytics, and like, I'm like analytic, like I'm like remedial so I don't. I don't.
I'm right with you.
Okay, I don't do any like reporting or anything. Do you know why I don't need to do that? It's because every single day they have people calling or coming in saying, I saw you on the video, I read the email, blah, 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 I loved your video this week. And the proof is in the pudding. Now, so it's just, that's what I love, is that I don't have to spend a ton of my time demonstrating my value. It was like, they hear every week, they're hearing from people who saw their content who are now in there. Now, would they have come in anyways? I don't know. Whatever. They don't know. Nobody knows. Who cares? The point is, people are coming in, they're talking, they're seeing their likes grow, they're seeing all this, and the business is growing. And when all of those things are happening, you don't have to do all the crazy analytics, which bores the crap out of me and I suck at.
So, dude, you got it going on. I mean, you're doing something that you really, truly enjoy doing, and you're helping people improve their lives and their businesses. What's better than that? Not
having
much.
A course. Yeah, having a course that sells all the time, like that, help other people like that. That
I think that'll
wake up in the morning and it's like, yes, I've helped some more people last night while I was sleeping.
Well, dude.
Yes.
Really awesome
fun, guys.
stuff.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate you guys having me on.
Do us a favor. If you don't already have one, get a landing page together. When you have that together on the waiting list, so people are aware of when you release this course. Come back, drop a link in underneath this video, underneath this live, so that everybody that's going to be watching this, we're going to be promoting this, by the way. Make sure that you let us know when that course is available. The best way to do that is get yourself a landing page together. If you don't already have one, drop the link in below so that everybody can sign up for it. They'll be aware of when your course is released, and that way, you can. It's up to you whether you want to offer them a special deal. If not, they'll at least be aware when your course comes out, and we'll help you build your list.
Friends of yours or friends of mine, of course, I'll offer them a deal. But yeah, I have a landing page, should be up, ready to rock and roll tomorrow. Just putting a couple final touches on it. So I'll drop a link in there in the shorter rather than longer stage. And appreciate that, guys. It's been a blast.
And also, a lot of folks are going to be watching this after the fact and not watching it live. So if you have questions that you've come up with while watching this, post them in this thread here, and Barry, I'm sure, will hop in and answer any questions that you have too.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to help, and happy to help. And if based on the questions, there's a particular area where there's a lot of interest, I'd be happy to put together just some free training, just an intro into if it's maybe the high ticket selling piece of this that's kind of scary, or if it's the tech piece that's scary, or if we want to do a little video kind of tutorial. I'm happy to put together, because I'm in the process of building that content out. I would love to just kind of give some of those pieces away and share that, so that if you have a particular area where you feel like you're stuck or struggling, by all means, question, comment, direct message me, DM one of you guys, and if you push that back my way, and I'm happy to put together like a little micro coach, mini course for people. So if they want to just get going on this and they don't want to wait around for the course, they want to get a head start, I want to make sure I can give them something they can get going with. So happy to do that as well.
Appreciate that. That's great.
Appreciate that, Barry. So with that, we're going to wrap things up. I really appreciate Barry Napier's time tonight. He shared a lot of gold nuggets with regards to local celebrity. He's coming out with a course real soon. So if you're watching this anywhere else than over at Delicious Marketing Hacks, come on over, like our page, just request approval to come into our group. We also have a group that's involved. That's where all the action is going to be. So just make a request, come over and like the page. If you liked what you heard tonight, connect with Barry. He's going to be dropping a link inside the group. So that's where you're going to want to go to learn a little bit more about what he's doing specifically, if that resonates with you. Really appreciate your time tonight, Barry. David, as always, this has been a blast, and we will see you guys real soon on the next live show for Delicious Marketing Hacks. Take care,
Thanks,
guys.
gentlemen.
Good night, everyone.
Great night, everyone.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.